Other interesting political news, Stellantis saying that regulations waste about 25% of their time, which also increase the cost of goods sold to the consumer. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Motor1.com. And they say, quote, regulatory work eats 25% of Stellantis' engineering hours. The company's chairman claims it has, quote, no value is added during that time, which is also credited to Adrian, who's a writer at Motor1.com. That's pretty cool. Is that a Peugeot? I don't like the fact it's a hybrid, but the fact that it's green, that's pretty cool shade of green. Now, diving into the article, they say, quote, it's not easy being an automotive engineer tasked with developing a new car for the European market. Well, also the US. They say, quote, the EU undoubtedly has the strictest legislation in terms of emissions, noise, safety, and other criteria. These higher standards not only drive up the prices, but also consume a significant portion of engineering time. Stellantis chairman John Ekman told Automotive News Europe that an engineer working on one of the largest automotive conglomerates spends more than a quarter of their time solely on ensuring compliance with the EU's stringent regulations. He says, quote, if you look at our engineers, more than 25% of their work is just compliance, no value added, unquote. And it's only going to get worse. Eichen, who also chairs Ferrari, says cars sold in Europe will need to meet more than 120 new regulations by the end of the decade. The most daunting challenge is reducing fleet emissions. That's 93.6 grams per kilometer average for 2025 to 2029 is already 15% lower than the previous standard. For 2030 to 2034 period, that figure will have to drop further to just 49.5 gram per kilometer starting 2035. New cars sold in Europe won't be allowed to produce harmful emissions, effectively banning the use of combustion engines, as the globalists and evil, lazy, corrupt European Union makes our lives hell. Oh, I added that last part. Now, they say, quote, we've recently mourned the loss of many fun cars in Europe due to the higher regulations, but the impact reaches far beyond sports cars. Elkin argues that the small vehicles are also being squeezed out as rising prices, driven by costly regulatory compliance, makes them less viable. The Volkswagen Group stopped making the VW, Skoda Citgo, and Seat Me years ago. He noted that more than 1 million vehicles under 15,000 shillings, pounds, whether using Harry Potter, European Union money, were sold in Europe in 2019, but that number has since plummeted to around 100,000. His solution, the EU, talk about a drop. 1 million vehicles were sold for that price point, now down to 100,000. Now, he said his solution, the EU should take inspiration from Japan's KEI cars, or key cars, and introduce a European equivalent. There's no reason why, if Japan has a K car, which is 40% of the market, that Europe should not have an E car. During the year, the former Renault CEO Luca De Meo also emphasized the need for smaller cars, stating, quote, driving around every day in an EV weighs 2.5 tons. Clearly an environmental nonsense, which it is. I would argue for hours on end that, these regulations have nothing to do with the environment and everything to do with controlling the end user and the consumer or the civilian, making it so that government control how far you can go, when you can charge your car, and you don't actually own your car because, again, it's an EV, it's a glorified smartphone on wheels, and only one manufacturer can fix, repair, and, actually monitor it. So, scrolling down, they continue to say, quote, despite the growing popularity of crossovers, is still a clear demand for smaller, lighter vehicles in Europe. Renault's budget brand Dacia is thriving with a no-thrills lineup that's both lightweight and affordable. According to the data from the European Automotive Manufacturers Association, Dacia held a 5.1% market share through April, thanks in part to the success of the Sandero Super Mini. While Dacia does sell SUVs like the Duster and Bigster, even the heaviest configuration of the latter weighs only 1,400 kilograms, which we're in America, so we don't use that. That would be 3,086 pounds. They note that, quote, excessive bureaucracy is undermining affordability and could backfire in Europeans' push for electrification. Making new cars more expensive risks encouraging people to keep their older, more polluting vehicles. Well, that's true, but stop that quote. That's true, but it's also an evil government. They'll just ban it. They'll take it from you. And Europe has done it before. They already took their guns. Now, they also note that, quote, making new cars more expensive risks encouraging people to keep their smaller, more polluting cars. Loosening regulations on smaller cars, similar to Japan's KEI or K car approach, could give automakers the flexibility to build cheaper, more efficient vehicles. Will that happen? Given the EU's tendency to tighten the rulebook, it seems unlikely. Well, that'd be good for the consumer. The EU would never do that. That would give you more freedom. The whole organization, the European Union, is about taking away your freedom, increasing government oversight, increasing bureaucracy. Again, we've been told you will own nothing and be happy. So if anything, they're going to be happy that it just keeps exponentially increasing the cost of goods sold to consumer. So not good news in the automotive community, but again, it just highlights the importance of politics. And again, it blows my mind some gearheads are not fervent libertarians, or at least, pro small government. Because again, they're literally taking away your fun toys, your way of life, or our way of life. And again, it is the best example of politics affecting a product and your freedom to use it, or in Europe's case, your lack of freedom to use it and own it. Again, there's more regulations. It blows my mind how many regulations there are in the automobile community. Even the US, which in comparison, with the exception of California, is less strict than the European Union. But yeah, there's still more bureaucracy and more rules than big pharma in some cases. It's ridiculous how much regulation is in the automobile community. But I mean, hopefully Europeans grow a pair. They maybe they'll grow a spine as well, vote differently. Maybe they'll peacefully protest as a nice poster board. I doubt it because they've allowed, the whole European to go into become a third world, basically. But let me know your thoughts in the comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.